Welcome back, baby. I, as always, am your gracious host, Chris Schnabel, and this is Offstage Radio. Today, we have a great guest joining us. He's from ESPN Radio. He did the Michael Kay Show. He's a producer on the Michael Kay Show. He's now the producer for DCR at 5 o'clock in the morning. Nice morning drive show. RJ Santillo will be joining us. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Now, I can't wait to see what goes on with the Brockport t-shirt here. So he went to Brockport. As some of you may know, my friend Chandler coached at Brockport. So I decided to break out the old Brockport football shirt and see what he says. See if he has any opinion on it and see if he's a big fan. I haven't told him that I'm going to be wearing this, and we'll see how it goes. We'll just have to see how it goes. But stay right there. RJ's coming up right now. Stay with us, Offstage Radio. All right, welcome back, Offstage Radio. We got our guest, RJ Santillo. RJ, how's it going?
Not bad, man. Not bad. Trying to keep it all between the white lines. This is a crazy world out there right now.
Yeah. Oh, the craziest thing is, so I usually don't go out, but I gotta go out for groceries and stuff like that. And one thing that just blows my mind is how many people, and it might just be a scary thing for the world, how many people just don't know how to wear a mask. Like, not like the physically not wearing it. They wear it like this or like this or like that. It's like, does it have to come with instructions? Does it?
There's too many line steppers out there. There's too many.
It's crazy. And I know, like, not to get into political, but there's a reason some people don't wear masks, whatever. But like, not wearing a mask is one thing. That's your decision. I don't like the decision, but I get you're making your dumb decision. You could be dumb. That's fine. But like, wearing the mask and not wearing it correctly makes me think like you don't know how to wear a mask. Like, it, just look at anybody else. Just look at anybody. There's thousands of people around you wearing a mask. I can go off on. I feel like I go off on this all the time. So I could go off on this.
It's like when you're in school, they tell you not to look at your neighbor's paper. Like, they're encouraging you to cheat all the time. You're like, in real life, like, look at your neighbor.
Yeah, look at what they're doing. See what they're doing, or just like. Think about it. Just think about it. Like, if you don't want the breath, it's not supposed to come from your mouth. You know, the same thing that comes out of your nose comes from your mouth. It comes from the same place. It's not like one lung does one thing and the other lung does the other. They do the same thing. It's the same thing. It makes no sense. And I see it all the time. And I'm like, and I'm someone that points it out. I'm like, yo, wear your mask. Like, what are you doing? It's for my safety, not yours. Like, you're being selfish. Now I'm be selfish. Wear your mask. Like, I don't want to get sick from you. Especially not from you, the person that doesn't know how to wear a mask. But on to the next one there. Before the show started, you were bringing up my Brockport t-shirt. So I'll just get right into it. So we saw you. You went to Brockport. My best friend from New York was the defensive backs coach and special team coach at Brockport. He just left. He probably wasn't there. He wasn't there when you were there.
Nah, I'm old.
Yeah, he just left. He joined in, let's say, 2015 or 16, and he was there. So he was there when they were on their rise, and he was there for the Final Four appearance. I don't know how much you keep up with Brockport football.
Oh, I keep up a ton.
They've been pretty good.
Basically, I won't get into a deep dive on Brockport football, but basically my whole time there, I traveled around with them, did the whole nine. So
no, please get into the deep dive with Brockport football. I actually, because my friend was there, I watched all the games. I went to a bunch of games. I mean, I'm from Middletown, so I actually lived in Boston. So I was either in Boston or in Middletown, New York, which is 8 hours away and 7 hours away. And I would drive all the way up to see him and go to a game, like when they went to the playoffs and all that stuff. So you could talk all Brockport football. I'm so about it. I'm with it.
It's wild how good they got. Like, they were solid when I was there. They were solid, but boy, after I left, they got a new locker room. They're going to Final Fours. Like, they're playing, like, they're one round away from playing Mount Union. Like, that's the D3 school most people have heard of, or UW Whitewater.
They played one of them. There's two that are the D3 schools that are just the elite of the elite, and they played the one in the Final Four, and they lost like 20-0, which is so impressive for a team that puts up 49 points a game. They lost 20-0. That defense was great. Have you seen the new locker rooms they got?
I've seen the videos. It's incredible.
Oh, it is. When they first got it, my friend, his name's Chandler, called me up, and and I went up there, and he's like, I gotta show you the locker rooms. And I went in and I was like, are you guys a professional team? This is amazing.
Yeah, there's LED lighting and stuff. And for
Yeah.
D3 schools, like it's to have that kind of asset to sell, it's wild.
Yeah.
It's really wild.
It's huge for recruiting. Seeing it, you can't give out scholarships or anything like that. But when they go in and they see that, and like there's like the light switch, you can control like the lights, you can do different mood stuffs like that. You control the radio, you control all this stuff. It's bizarre. I didn't play in college, but when I played, the locker rooms barely had like lockers on them. Like they were just holes in the wall that you put your stuff in and hope nobody stole it from.
Yeah, if you came back from practice, your stuff was there. That's a win.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, oh, thank God, this was a good day. So, yeah, I was like, I'm gonna wear it because I know he's gonna bring it up, and we can talk Brockport football. It's great. I have actually multiple. When we were doing our writers' room yesterday, I was wearing a different Brockport shirt, and I was like, "You went to Brockport?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm wearing a Brockport shirt right now." This is crazy.
Oh, I thought I missed something in the lead up to this. I was like, I feel really stupid because I feel like that's something I would have touched on or picked up on.
Oh no, I wanted to surprise with this. I wanted you to be like, "How does he know about Brockport? Did he go there?"
I know you got other stuff to get to. That's one of the true casualties of this year was lower level football like that, because they're basically in the midst of their and it's for anyone, whatever school you went to, high school, college, they're in the most successful era they've ever been in by far. And it's just kind of like you wonder after this, like what happens.
Yeah, some teams are really going to take a hit because if you were a low-level team that didn't have good recruiting in the first place, just imagine now, knowing that you have to promote from 2 years ago where you were 1-9, then you didn't have a season, and that now you're trying to bring in kids. It's got to be rough. But any low-level team, I mean, even Brockport's going to struggle a little bit because they didn't have a season. You don't know what's coming back. You took a year off. It's just.
Yeah. And I mean, unless you're really talking about like Ohio State and Alabama, like even a lot of these D1 school teams, like they're breaking even. Like these athletic departments, and this doesn't count D3 like we were talking about with Brockport, where athletics don't generate revenue really. You know what I mean?
No.
Like, so even these D1 schools where I'd take, I don't know, Syracuse, you know what I mean? Like a lot of the money's come from not even the football program, the basketball program, and they're funding, the lacrosse program, the swimming diving team, like men's and women's, baseball, softball. So that's why, like, they're going to play March Madness this year. They have to.
Yeah.
They absolutely. There's a reason they played college football this year. Was it morally and ethically the right thing to do? No.
No.
Absolutely not. But there's a reason, even where you're out on the West Coast, where the Pac-12 wasn't going to play, and then all of a sudden, guess what? We're playing football because, I mean, look what Stanford did. Stanford cut like a dozen programs like in last May.
Mm-hmm.
And that just kind of tells you what's going to happen if these schools aren't able to get certain programs and get certain tournaments on the field, because they won't be able to fund anything. The whole athletic department will collapse.
Yeah, and I was going to bring that up. There's a ton of programs, like not the basketballs and footballs the baseballs are getting cut, softball, volleyball, like all these schools have to cut these sports because they just can't afford to keep them out there because of the pandemic. So I understand why college football came back. Them powering through it was rough to watch. You're just sitting there like, oh my goodness, man. Another team's going down. And then you talk about the Pac-12. They just canned the president or the guy that runs the show. They just canned him. They said, see you later.
That, yeah. I saw he pocketed like $40 million in the process.
Oh yeah, well he's not gonna go for free.
Right.
Go on. I know you know sports. He ain't going nowhere for free. He's got to get a little severance package.
So over here, like in the Northeast, like I think Syracuse basketball, it's January. I think they've paused twice already, and they've already had other guys on a third round of like individual pauses. Like that, it's just. To say they're trucking through, I mean, that's a disservice to trucks. Like, what kind of truck are we talking about? Like, they're like a tank right now. Like, they're just taking slings and arrows left and right, and they're just going to keep going.
And you're talking about Syracuse. We're here at Gonzaga. Gonzaga had the pause. They had one. They're the number one team in the country.
Like, far and away the best team in the country right now. And how do you feel if you're Mark Few and those guys? Like, you're fine. Like, this is it. This could be it. Finally.
Yeah. Well, that was the thought last year before they canceled March Madness. Like, oh, this could be it. And then they're like, no March Madness.
They're going to play this year.
Yeah, they're going to play. Oh, I know. Trust me. We hear it all the time. I actually work in the with the broadcast team, so I hear all about it. And it was nice. I actually worked my first game the other day, watching live sports. Oh my goodness. I needed that.
Therapeutic.
It's they were playing Pepperdine. I don't care who they're playing.
They could have played. They could have played 5 guys from the YMCA, and we'd all sit and watch.
I was gonna say they could just been running a skeletons practice. I would have been fine just sitting there and watching them. It's just tough.
Just to go back to that time from what was it, March till August. Like I know there was golf and there was NASCAR, but when the NBA bubble came back and the NHL bubble, people often they're hyperbolic when they say I don't know how I got through that. I actually don't know how. Like I think back to it now and I still remember exactly how I felt. Like you go through your day and all you're hearing about is people getting sick, people dying, people losing their jobs. Then you go home and there's no sports, there's no anything. There's no distraction. There's barely studio programming. Like people are in their living rooms and the quality's gone way up since then.
Yeah.
Studio shows, like people have full studios in their homes now. But back then it's like this. It's Zoom. This is how you're watching the evening news in your city. Like you're watching on Zoom. Like, oh man.
It's just nuts. It was nuts.
Living through history.
I say that all the time. It's crazy the amount of history we've lived through in like 30, 40 years. Kids are going to be learning about this that we're living through. It's just nuts to be a part of. A couple friends and I, when the pandemic first started, I think it was about 12 people. We did a MLB The Show fantasy draft, and we didn't even play it. We watched the computer play each other. That's how deprived we were of sports. We watched MLB The Show play computer each other in a whole season. We did a whole season and just watched every game. We were so deprived. You got like excited over your imaginary team. You're like, yes, let's go. Home run, let's go. It was crazy. But speaking of the pandemic and stuff like that, so you were still commuting to the office at a point to do TMKS. For anybody that's been living under a rock, he did the Michael K show. Now he's on DCR. We'll get more into both of those in a minute. But you were commuting actually to the office to do this show. How was that during the pandemic with nobody being there and having to go in when everybody else was home?
You felt grateful to have a job to go to. But at the same time, every day was nerve-wracking. It still kind of is. Like we've brought people back, but I'd say I can count on one hand the number of people we've brought back since that time to where we are now. But it's not even the new normal anymore. It's normal. Like it's going to be February. It's going to be almost a full year, in middle of March. So
it's crazy.
You think about everything. Like you think about, oh, can I go here? Can I touch this? Who's coming in today? Oh, there's an extra person here. Can we be in the same room? Like, but I mean, to have a job, like you don't think about it like that's something that would ever happen where, oh, we're in the line of duty where, if duty calls, we need to go to work. Like we're not nurses. We're not even newsmen. You know what I mean? Like we talk about sports at the time. We were talking about sports that weren't happening. So it felt odd to try to go in and talk about sports. But I said from the beginning, at the time, my job required me to be there. So when people were losing their jobs, and I mean, a ton of people did end up losing their jobs, like just at ESPN alone. And I said, for as long as I'm healthy and I have a job to go to, I'm going to go. So that's what I did.
We're talking to RJ Santillo. So when you guys were having producers meetings and stuff like that, were they harder and longer than when when sports are going on? You have an NBA game, MLB game. This guy got traded. That guy got traded. It's like, I feel like the kind of script can write itself for the show, but when nothing's going on, does it make it like writers' rooms for maybe like another hour or two trying to figure out what can we do to fill this time? The
strangest part was in the beginning, we weren't even doing sports. We were doing the news. We were doing a news show for, I'd say, a month or two. You try to mix in sports, but it seems so trivial because, I mean, especially in New York here, when the first wave really, like, I think the first case was actually in Washington, I believe, if I'm saying it correctly. Like the first ever case in the U.S., the first noted one anyway. But
in Seattle.
Yeah, the first huge wave came in New York City, and there were 1,000 people a day dying just in New York City. And so to try to talk yourself into, boy, you know what we got to get into today? The NFL draft. And I love the draft. I love sports. I truly don't know what else I'd be doing in life if it weren't for sports. But it was tough. It was tough just to talk about anything. But I would say after a month or two, people just wanted to hear anything. Everybody knew somebody here that had it or was sick or lost their job or whatever, can't pay their bills. So when it got to, April or late April, I'd say about the NFL draft, that's the first thing we got back to where, like, you know what? I know it's scrutinized for it happening in the first place, but I think we all need it, maybe selfishly, but we all needed it. We all needed to get to something. And then after that, we transitioned a little more. We would talk a little more about sports every day, and we'd try and work it in. And then it became 50-50. You're doing half news, half updates, because news about COVID will be breaking as we were on the air. So we had to talk about it.
Yeah.
And then I'd say by the time like the bubbles came together, then we dove back in.
And I listen to the Michael K show a lot. I listen to it actually when I run in the morning and at night. So I listen to the podcast version, which I know that was your job, right? You were putting the podcast together, putting it up. So thanks for that, because I listen to it all the time.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah. So when it first happened, now I don't remember. Obviously, you said it was almost a year ago. When it first happened, was the show canceled for the first day, or did they just say we got to move immediately to I think it was on the phone, if I remember right. But I'm just a foggy memory.
March 13th was our last day, all of us in studio together. I think it was a Thursday. And those guys had already transitioned to home that week. I'd say that like Monday or Tuesday, they had been home, and we didn't know how long everybody would be home for because, all the hosts now can broadcast from home. There's technology that allows us to do so. So it was a pretty simple transition, and they've all broadcasted from home at different times for different reasons anyway. So we were able to flip that switch pretty easy, but the producers being home, like there's usually 2 producers for a show, and for one of them to be home, that was a huge adjustment. Like I was sitting in a room by myself for months, and I joke, but I got sick of myself. I would drive to work because I'd wake up, and for the most part, we were here in Brooklyn, and my fiance at this time, she's working from home. She teaches, so she's working her speech classes with kids in the other room, and so I'd leave her alone. I'd be by myself. And then I'd drive to work by myself. Then I'd go sit in a room by myself. Then I would drive home by myself. And it's just like, man, I'm sick of myself. Like, I even know what my thoughts are, like what I'm going to think in certain situations I haven't even thought about yet. And I'm just like, man, I need to talk to somebody. So those few hours were cathartic for me, like therapeutic. Even though I was in a room by myself, like just be able to talk to other people I needed it bad.
And that was the big thing with people. I know some people are like, I don't get it. Like you could just stay home, blah, blah, blah. And because of people that need, like I need to go somewhere. Now, going to restaurants and bars, personally, you don't need to go to a restaurant or bar. You can just go out, go to nature, go away from people, but still get out. But that's what a lot of people say is like, they're stuck with themselves for so long. They don't know what to do with themselves. Like that all the thoughts that they can ever have are happening in their head. Like, how do you get rid of this? Like, I need to go somewhere. I need to see someone. It's just so tough because you really can't. I mean, even here we're doing it. Everybody's in a different place. I know they can have a home studio because I have a home studio, and it's not the same level of what the Michael K show is using, but
it's a nice studio though.
Thank you. It's just a board with a nice little mic, and I decided because we have a studio we can go to, but I was like, you know what? I have the equipment. I used to do video stuff. I have the equipment. I'm just going to set it up, do it right here. I don't need to go in. I had to go in yesterday to campus, and it was just packed. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I don't want to have to come back here to do anything. So that's the thing you see a lot with people is like they just can't get out of their heads. There's nobody to talk to. And that's why everybody wants to get out. And that's why everybody's hoping this vaccine really gets rolling. But I've seen
I was with you. Tons of podcasts, just fill the time. Like I'm with you. I try and support these businesses as much as possible, get takeout, things like that. I think I've eaten in a restaurant since this started. Inside one time and outside another 3, maybe 4. So that's a total of 4 or 5. But I try and go once a week, take out, tip when I can, stuff like that. And
yeah,
I got no problem with these places even charging an extra couple bucks for their food. I know they got to, I'm rooting for all these places to stay open. That's why I try not to complain. Like that's why, when things are at their worst, as long as I had a job to go to, I can't imagine what these other businesses are still going through. It's not over yet. So
no, it's not. I was looking at the there's like this little thing you could see like when might you get it, and mine was like July or August. I'm like, oh great, nice little half year still before I even make consideration for the vaccine. But who knows, maybe schools will get it, or I don't see. It'd be great for schools to get it. I would love to get it, but I want the people that need to get it first.
Yes,
get the healthcare workers, get to the frontline workers, get it to those guys, then come back around to me. I could sit in my house for a little longer. I mean, I could do this. I could talk to people. That's all. You take care of them first, please take care of them first.
Yeah, and that's the tough part. If this were, I liken this to, if it were a football game, because that's the language I speak. It's sports. It's easy. We're moving into the fourth quarter now. It's just like now it's crunch time, and we still have to, remember why we're here and why it's taking so long. Like it'll go faster if everyone just kind of stays in line a little bit longer, but easier said than done.
We're talking to RJ Santillo. So you worked with the Michael K Show for years. What is your relationship like with those guys?
Love those guys. Love them. Truly love them. I'm lucky enough. I'm still in the show group chat by text. I'm waiting for them to kick me out. I'm sure they will at some point. But I love those guys. It's, in my opinion, the best show there is. I know that's subjective, but we felt it in real time. Those guys, everybody works their butt off on that show, and to make it what it was and what it is, it's still rolling. It's successful, and it's not by mistake. Like success didn't find them by mistake. They work hard, and they're friends. I'm lucky enough to call them friends, and hopefully I can see them and we can see people again whenever that is.
And how do you feel about the person that took over for you in your job? Because you did such a great job there. How do you feel the person that's taking over for you now?
Well, I appreciate that. It's nice of you to say. He's great. His name's Anthony Pusick, and it's an opportunity, just like it was an opportunity for me about 5 years ago now, which flew by. It's just nuts. But he's great. It's an opportunity, and it's a great room you're walking into, and that's what I told him. And that's all any of us can ask for in any walk of life, whether that's, a team when you were in high school or college or whatever, and you took over for somebody that was ahead of you that graduated. Like there's always that kind of indoctrination period where everyone kind of gets comfortable, but it's a great room, and that's all you can ask for.
And so you started doing radio in Brockport, and then you transitioned to ESPN. How did you make that? How did you get to ESPN? Like, did you have a connection? Did you just grind and look for jobs, and eventually you got connected with something? So how did you make that Brockport DJ? By the way, I saw you were a Brockport DJ, and you were on air for 5 hours. I also did radio when I was in college, and I had to fight to get 2 hours. I saw you were for 5. I'm like, he got 5. So Joe, who is one of the producers, we had a show together. It was very successful, and we still had to fight to get 2 hours all the time. We had to fight to get to the next one. And I saw 5 hours. Like, how come we couldn't be like that station? But anyway, doesn't matter. You did the Brockport radio, and then you moved to ESPN radio. How did you make that move? Was there connections, or just found the job, or?
So the way I actually got lucky, I'll keep it short, but I'll start at the beginning with the Brockport show. That was actually a show that it was a sports talk show, and it was brought back by one of the guys ahead of me. He's actually, it's wild because everyone went on to do some pretty cool stuff. Like we kind of knew it in the moment. We had some special people, but Brockport's a smaller state school in Western New York near Rochester, Buffalo. Most people are probably more familiar with. And there's like 7,000 people that go there. And the couple of the guys ahead of me, when I was a freshman, they brought back this sports show that had been around like decades earlier, and they brought it back, and we just kept it rolling. And we were lucky enough where they kind of laid the groundwork. But yeah, and even the guy that I hosted with now, he's a morning show host in Buffalo now. So you kind of knew it in real time. There were some people doing some cool stuff. But after that, I had to stop at it's a company called Entercom. It's a radio company, and I worked in Rochester, which is where I'm from, about an hour outside of Buffalo. And I was there for 2 years. And then I actually applied to ESPN. It was a part-time job where they promised me about 18, 20 hours a week, like 3-4 nights a week. I worked Friday, Saturday, Sunday to start. And then they added Wednesdays. And then I moved to overnights, a true overnight. So I'd get to work at like 1 a.m. And then I bounced around a little bit, landed on the K show, finally got full-time, was there for 5 years. And now I work a really strange hours again, oddly enough, where I get to work at like 3 a.m. now. So it's kind of come full circle.
Yeah. And for people that are wondering, he's now with DCR. That's at 5 a.m. So you're waking up nice and early. So you're going from an afternoon show where you probably got to sleep in and, work your way up. And now you're waking up at probably 3 a.m. to get ready for work. What's that transition been like?
Shoot. I after I worked overnights the first time. So when I started working 5 days a week, like 5 days during the week, which was a big deal at the time. I'd get up at 11:45 p.m. to go to work, to be at work by like 1 a.m. And then I'd get home at like 10 a.m. And when I eventually landed on the Michael K show, and I'd wake up at like, I don't know, 7 something. Mm-hmm. I knew I never felt more rested. And I was like, I will never feel more rested in life than I do right now. I can stay up, watch all the games, even watch West Coast games, and still get 5, 6, 7, 8 hours of sleep, 9 hours of sleep if I go to bed early. So I was like, I know this won't last forever, so I just want to enjoy sleeping all the time.
I tell people that all the time. Well, you can sleep, do it, because eventually you're going to hit a point in your life where you're going to have to start waking up.
Yeah, so I wake up at 2 now, and I would, the best similarity I can give it is it's like you have a kid without a kid. Like you wake up at weird hours. Sometimes you wake up and freak out. Like people would freak out about their kid. Like, oh, well, what happened? Are they breathing? Are they doing this? Like I wake up and I don't know what time it is. And it's like a panic, and all the feelings come back. Like your body has no idea what's going on.
Well, we thank you for not napping during this time and joining us for this time then, because I'd be napping.
Don't worry, my nap time's like 2:00, so don't worry.
Okay, good. So we can keep it till then. So what is your relationship like with the guys at DCR compared to the guys at TMKS?
I was familiar with them. So like when I told you, when I first got to the station, I worked with Dave Rothenberg, and I worked with him on like Wednesdays and Fridays because he was at night. And then I went to, after the overnight shift I worked with Rick DiPietro, who played goalie for the Islanders once upon a time. And then eventually Chris Canty joined the show, who played for the Giants. So I worked with all of them just at different times. And I stayed cool with them. I stayed tight with them. We'd text, we'd see each other at different station things. And I'd be getting in for work when they would be leaving. And so we've always been cool. I like working with those guys, even back then, but now especially. It's they've grown a lot. They're all older than me, but I tell them you're like my kids. You went off, and we all kind of went off and did our own thing, and now we're back together all as one. And they've grown a lot. They've got a lot better, and they continue to get better.
And so we talked about some of the stuff you do, but what are most of your day-to-day tasks with the show?
So I will get in around 3 is when I aim to get in, and I'll get all our sponsors together, all our reads, put together any news that they need to know. They've seen it all by then, but because they all do their homework. And then I'll put together our rundown, which is less like we're going to talk about this at this time. it's just ideas that I have, what I think we should be talking about. Like, and I'll kind of give them an order. Like, this is our biggest thing today. This is our second biggest thing. And then we'll do the show 5 to 8. And then I'm there till, I'd say I'll be there longer once we actually get rolling, but I was there till about 10:30 today. Cause they kind of encourage us to get out when we're done. Like, don't be there longer than you need to.
Yeah.
Even though there's only about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe 8, 9 people that come in every day. But they encourage you. They don't want more than like 3 people there at a time.
Yeah.
Like on the whole floor. They're just like, get out when you can. And then, I'll start to actually get some stuff ready for the next day. I'll do some social media stuff, blast out the podcasts, reach out to any guests. Like tomorrow, like we just booked Rob Ninkovich, who's one of the ESPN NFL analysts. So we'll have him tomorrow. And just try and set up as much as I try and get as much done before my nap as possible. Because when I wake up, it takes me about 5 minutes to even remember what day it is.
We're talking with RJ Santillo. That's funny. First of all, Rob Ninkovich, you just kind of subtly said that. Rob Ninkovich was a great underrated player in those Pats dynasties. He really was. I didn't even know he was an analyst, though. Yeah,
dude, those Patriots, they just find their way to ESPN. I don't even know how it happens.
Well, you get one, and then they're like, "Oh, you should get this guy knows a lot. You should get this guy. This guy
Teddy
knows a lot."
Bruschi laid the foundation.
Yeah, I mean, he's pretty good on there too. So he was pretty good player too. Yeah, it's funny because you come from the Belichick system, and everyone says he's so smart. I guess that's who you'd want on there. Although I do love me a little Rex Ryan, especially in the afternoons with Bart Scott and Alan Hahn.
Rex, that's
a character.
I try regularly now that I book guests. I've tried every week to steal him, and I'm unsuccessful so far.
So I'm going to switch it up a little bit. What do you think about your 49ers? How do you think they're doing this offseason? How do you think they're going to do next season? Give me a couple thoughts on the Niners.
It's tough. This was a win year for them. The window was open. They had everyone under contract, and next year will not be the same. It's sad whenever you're good, because they went to the Super Bowl last year, and now they're already. I'm not going to say they're bad again, but they had such a down year, all the injuries and stuff. But and the tough part is, like, one of my jobs here is also working on the Jets broadcast. Like, we're the home of the Jets, so I produce the Jets flagship broadcast here. Mm-hmm. And the game, I keep it down the middle when we're working, obviously. But I was working the game when all the 49ers got hurt. Like, they were like it was that game with like 18 guys. You remember the turf thing? Like,
yeah, they were saying, MetLife is that's where everybody gets hurt.
I was working that game, and I'm just like watching, and I can't say anything. My eyes get wide. I'm just like, again, another one, again. But it'll be tough. The salary cap, I think it's going to go down a little. I think people overstate the financial troubles of the NFL. They're not going to make as much money as they normally do, but they're not. They're hardly need to go to the the handout line for they're not making as much as they normally would. Like, but a sport like hockey's getting crushed. Hockey's going to lose a ton of money.
Yeah, baseball lost a ton of money last year. Yep.
The NBA lost a lot of money, like $250 million to put that bubble together. But as far as I trust them. I guess is the simple version, to keep around who they see fit. But whenever you're good, you get a couple of years. Especially if your quarterback's not on a rookie deal, like Garoppolo's not. That's why everyone talks about getting rid of Garoppolo, because you can't get rid of everyone else. So if you can get rid of one guy, save $25 million, then that's what you do, I guess. But I think he'll still be there next year. But what do I know?
I was just about to ask, because what are your thoughts? Do you think they keep Garoppolo, move on from Garoppolo, or?
I like Jimmy. I know Jimmy. Listen, the easiest way I can put it, I know it's easy to talk about getting rid of Jimmy because he's not Brady, and he's not Rodgers, and he's not Mahomes, he's not Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen. But you know what they don't do when he doesn't play? They don't win, like, ever. So I'm not saying he's the reason they win, but I don't think it hurts.
Yeah, well, the quarterback is the most important position. So when you have your backup or your third strings in, it's just not the same as having someone like Jimmy Garoppolo. He brought you to the Super Bowl.
He was one, 3-yard overthrow to Emmanuel Sanders away from. I'm not going to say they would have won that game because Mahomes still gets the ball back with, a minute and a half left, but
different game then.
Yeah, you got the lead, but the way that game was going, if they had played another 5 minutes, San Fran may have lost by 30. Like Kansas City couldn't stop scoring.
They're unbelievable to watch. It's just like Mahomes goes out there and does what he wants. It doesn't matter. I really hope he plays.
I remember the Miami game. I think it was like week 13 or something, and there was a Jets game happening, so you can only kind of poke in and out. But our game, the Jets game, went to a commercial. And I saw they were down 10-0 to the Dolphins, the Chiefs, on the red zone or whatever. The next commercial break, I see the same score and it's 21-10. And I no more than 8-9 in real time minutes went by. And I nudged the guy next to me. I go, that can't be right. It was 10 minutes ago. They were down by 10. Now they're up by 11. It doesn't make any sense. Yeah. And then they like on the red zone, they recapped the highlights. I was like, they scored. They had like a 2-play drive where they scored on like an 80-yard bomb. And then I think they had like a pick 6, and then they forced a punt and got the ball back and scored in like 3 plays again. It just doesn't even make sense.
No. And then it was, I don't even remember what week. Tyreek Hill had 203 yards and 3 touchdowns in the first quarter. It's like, what? What? You put those two together. But we're talking about RJ Santillo. We got a couple more questions here. What's your ultimate goal in radio? What do you hope to accomplish with radio or with your career?
This will seem like a cop-out, but I just want to do cool stuff. That's what I tell people all the time. Because the truth of it is I never thought I'd get this far. I never thought I'd, work on a show like the Michael Kay show that's, simulcast, or produce a show like in some sort of weird morning hours. It's not like a true morning hours where it's like a 6 to 10, but 5 to 8, I'll take it. There's a couple of good hours in there. So, I kind of go step by step and then reevaluate. I haven't set the next pinpoint yet. I try and take it one goal at a time and just be adaptable. I don't know where this industry is going. Podcasts were hardly a thing, 10 years ago, and now they're a huge thing. So I keep my mind open to everything. Whatever cool thing is available, and if someone thinks I can help them do it, I'm always game to listen.
And if somebody that's trying to come up in the radio industry, what advice would you give them to keep going and stuff like that?
The beginning is hard. Getting started. It's like writing a paper. The beginning, we've all been there where you're sitting there staring at your computer. It's 2 a.m. and you're like, oh my God, I need to write 12 more pages. But once you get that first page rolling, that's kind of the career path. Like the beginning is hard. Finding someone that will give you a shot can be the toughest part. But once it gets going, there's sacrifice. Like you're gonna work strange hours. Like I wake up at 2 a.m. Some people look at it and they're like, oh, that's cool. You get to work a sports show, this and that. Some people are like, what's wrong with you? And I understand both sides. I get both sides. I truly do. But once you get a little bit of gratification, it's addicting. That's what keeps you going, at least for me.
RJ, thank you for joining us, and we'll be right back. Got another top-notch interview today. That was a lot of fun. RJ was the man. I'm glad that he came on and we were able to talk to him and stuff like that. I hope everybody out there enjoyed it. RJ does not have a podcast, but hopefully he'll have one. If he gets a podcast, this show, you will hear about it first, because we are absolutely going to talk about his podcast if he comes on with a podcast. 100%. We'll talk about a podcast if he comes on with a podcast. So if he comes on with one, definitely listen to DCR. That's on ESPN Radio in New York. You can listen to that on the ESPN app or anywhere you get podcasts. If you're listening to podcast, that's the man that makes the podcast. So when you're listening to podcasts all cut up and stuff like that, he's the one that does it. So you can listen to the podcast version of it like I do when I run, or you can listen to it on ESPN Radio New York. They're on at 5 o'clock in the morning, Eastern time. So if you're out here in the West like I am, you're probably listening on podcast form, or you're up and you're listening to their morning, your night. Doesn't matter. Go listen to it. And listen to Michael Kay show too. He was the former producer of Michael Kay show. Personally, one of my favorite sports talk shows. I listen to that when I run a lot as well. So go listen to those things. RJ is the absolute man. He is, I'm glad he was able to join us. Now, if you want to follow Off Stage, which I know you do, like I know you want to follow Off Stage. Like that's why you're here. You want to follow us. And I get it. I understand. I get it. Don't worry. I got it. If you want to follow Off Stage, you can go on Instagram, off.stage.radio. You can go on Twitter, Offstage Radio. We're also on YouTube as Offstage Radio. Or you can go to Schnabel Productions. That's SCHNABEL Productions.com/Offstage Radio. You can find everything you're looking for there. Last week we had Rob Sacre on. If you want to go listen to him, he's former Zag, former Laker. He was awesome. He was hilarious. He's the man. Definitely a good one to join. We had Victor Rojas on before that, and Dave Puglisi. So we have some good guests already in 2021. If you want to go even further back, we had Darren Nefsey and Ryu Carr. We had Carter Capps. We had Vince Papali. Oh, I could go. Let's go. We had Kid Quill. I could go on and on and on and on and on about all these guys we had. So definitely go check those out. We have individual interviews plus the full interviews, depending on if you want to listen to me not ranting, but going on and on like I am right now. Then you can listen to the full interview. If you want to listen to just the person, you don't want to hear me, you barely want to hear me, go to the individual interviews. So you can definitely do all that. But thank you for joining us. By the way, if anybody didn't notice, we're back in the studio, baby. The home studio is back. We're not in Isaac anymore. Maybe in the future. But for now, we're back in our comfort zones. Thank you for joining us on Offstage Radio. Definitely go follow RJ on social media. Go follow us on social media. Listen to old ones. Point out new podcasts. That would be dope. Send us who you want to hear on Offstage Radio. We can try to get them on so you can listen to them and stuff like that. And see you guys later. Thank you so much. Deuces, later, peace, wear a mask, wear a mask, wear a mask. Deuces, later, peace, wear a mask. That's a song for you. You can listen to that all the time as long as you wear your mask. All right, guys. See you later. Boom. Later.